Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. On today's video we are working on a cow who's favoring her right front foot. And she's got a common lesion that you've seen on this channel before, but it's in an uncommon location. It's on the lateral claw and it's working its way up the outside wall. Let's get started on this and you'll see what I mean. Here you can get a good look at that defect in question. Now typically this type of defect is going to be on the medial claw on the front foot, that inside claw, and not on the outside claw. That's due to the pressures that are applied to that claw, and that's where you typically see them. This is odd though that it's on the lateral claw, and it's also odd that it's working its way up that outside wall. Typically they're going to underrun the sole. This one is taking a different path up that outside wall. As I'm working on this foot, you'll hear this cow kind of moaning. It doesn't have anything to do with pain. Some cows just are vocal that way. You'll see at the end of this video, I'm going to actually do a follow-up of this foot, and she's moaning in that one as well. They just get uncomfortable. They don't understand what we're trying to do to help them, so it's just like it's a bit of an anxiety signal. Some people kind of fuss around. Cows do the same thing. They get uncomfortable, and that's just the way they voice their opinion. It's not because of pain. Here you can get a good look of that crack as it's approaching that corium level. It's underneath here where that pocket of infection is. These lesions are difficult to work on because that outside wall is held really tight to the corium. You tend to not get as much separation there as you would with a sole separation. So when we're working away trying to remove this loose horn, it's much more difficult to get that hook of that knife up underneath that to lift it away. Just got to work slowly and try to get as much as you can, get this area opened up so that that infection can drain. Now that I know what I'm dealing with here, I'm going to get a rubber block glued to this other claw. That's going to elevate that injured one off the ground. So I'm going to get that applied now, and then I'm going to go back and finish working on this lesion. So here you can see how much we've opened that up. Now if you're looking at that and thinking normally you take a lot more away when you open up a lesion. This case though, like I mentioned before, that outside wall is held really tight to the corium there. If I do much more work right now, I'm going to risk damaging that corium, so I'm not going to do that. But this video is not ending right now. We're going to do a follow-up here 3 weeks later to see how this is healed. Remember when I commented on this cow fussing at the beginning of this video? Listen to her now. And I haven't even started working on this foot yet. Like I said, it's just an anxiety response. Here you can get a good look at what that lesion looks like now after 3 weeks of healing. Looks pretty good, but let's get the knife out and clean it up a bit. If you've watched a lot of hoof trimming videos, you'll notice that my approach to working on lesions tends to be on the conservative side when it comes to removing horn from around those lesions. And the reason I do that, like I mentioned earlier in this video, is to try to avoid corium damage. The less corium damage that I can do, the better the healing, in my opinion. And I like to do follow-ups, so this is a much safer time, as you'll see in this video, to remove a lot more of this loose horn from around that lesion, because now that corium has started to produce horn around this defect and around this lesion and healed it in, now I can work my knife with a layer of protection, protecting that corium, that new horn growth, protecting that corium. It's far less risky and far less likely that I'm going to cut down into the corium now that I have that layer of protection. So that's why I choose to do things a little bit differently. So what I'm doing right now with this particular trim is, or the goal of this particular trim is to just make sure that this crack, that little black line that I'm working on right now, that it terminates and doesn't continue to work up that wall. I want to make sure that I haven't missed an area of open lesion up underneath that, so that's why I'm working on that. I'm going to make sure that that terminates, and then I'm going to clean that area out well just to make sure that it's not going to continue all the way up that outside wall. Here we'll zoom in and get a good close-up of that area and how that entire area has now healed in. I'm going to leave that block on, though, just to allow this area to thicken up and to become a little bit harder before I remove that. 3 weeks from now, I'll do that. Let her out, and you can see how she's walking now. If we go back, we'll do a split screen here. You can see how she left 3 weeks ago when she left the chute and the way she's walking now after 3 weeks. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you all on the next one.